Hey everybody, welcome back to the placebo effect. So this is going to be just a vlog, and I wanted to get these started. These are going to be a little bit different from the traditional episodes that I do. Those kind of have a little bit of a focus, whereas this one just me talking about just you know current life and uh, how I reflect on God about it, and hopefully these are of some value for you guys too. So I guess just to kind of jump right into it. So we're in the we're in a season right now in 2020 where we've got a lot of fallout from the COVID-19 shutdown. It was a global shutdown. It affected the global economy, obviously the American economy. And for a while, I was able to just work from home just fine. But then I just got recently furloughed. So now it's about having to go on benefits and that kind of stuff. And, you know, I, I let my wife know as soon as it happened, and we talked about it for a little bit. And, we just immediately just turned it over to God, surrendered to God. I mean, the biggest thing that I could say is a huge change for me since being a Christian. Before I was a Christian, I used to worry about so much stuff. I used to constantly worry about everything. I used to worry about bills and finances and jobs and just what people thought of me and everything. Like I was just constantly filled with worry all the time. And just kind of one of the amazing things about being a Christian is when you realize that you're not in control, that God is in control, and that we are called to surrender. And I've been through these situations before. It's quite interesting is that there's been a lot of hills and valleys in our lives since my coming to faith. I've had a couple of valleys where we struggled financially, and I've even like lost the house we were in. We had to couch it with friends and relatives for a while. I mean, we've been through seasons of valleys financially for sure, and God definitely used those moments to kind of build us up and build me up for sure, because my walk with Christ has only been a few years now. I was saved in 2016, and you know, getting into a place where you shed your old way of thinking and your old perceptions about life takes a very different turn once you embrace that God is in control. Because He is. He's the creator of everything. He's the creator of the universe. He spoke the universe into existence. He spoke life into this planet. He breathed life into all living things. And the thing that I try to do whenever there's the beginnings of worry is just do my best to surrender it to God. Turn it over to God. And that happened in prior moments when I had to deal with a job loss since becoming a Christian. And so this time, it's a furlough, so it's not quite the same as an outright layoff, but still, it's going to be a few months, where the income changes now. My wife's a student, so I was primary breadwinner, and so it gets easy to get kind of lost and caught up in the moment, especially when the media is doing a pretty bang up job of fear mongering and trying to just keep things in a weird perspective when it comes to this season. And for us as Christians, we run to God. We turn it over to the Lord and surrender to Him. Because what I have found is that strength doesn't come from my own strength. Strength comes from surrender. When I I'm aware of my weakness and I surrender it to God, my goodness, huge things happen. Every time I've surrendered to God, I've had a peace that surpasses all understanding. Every time me and my wife have surrendered to God when we've had valleys, we both have gained a peace that surpasses all understanding. That's noticeable with friends and family. It's really, really amazing how when you surrender to God, then God finds a way to show our light, the, the, the light of the world that is Jesus through us. And in this season, it was just kind of more the same, you know. I got the notice of furlough and let my wife know, and we're like, hey, you know, we've been through this before. We'll trust in God and let this season ride its course because He's always in control. He knows the end from the beginning. So there's that, right? I just kind of wanted to just talk a little bit about that and how this season affected us individually and what I did in service to the Lord, and that was turn it over to God. Turn over the Word to God. Now, the other thing that was on my mind to just kind of talk about is kind of this, you know, I don't know if you want to, civil war might be a little bit of a strong statement, but there's definitely, you know, a division that's happened in our country, in our culture. You know, there's just kind of two factions. There's an us and a them, and it's really, really sad. Where even during this kind of season of this pandemic, there's just a big challenge with coming together. I mean, in the United States of America, it's quite sad how the word united just doesn't seem to be happening. And kind of case in point is, you know, right now there's just been this difference in policy state to state with respect to reopening back up. And Florida and Georgia were early adopters to this loosening of the lockdown restrictions. And one thing that I noticed on social media was just this general vibe to, you know, attack those decision makers, you know, the respective governors of Florida and Georgia. And I actually remember in particular, there was kind of one tweet that I observed from somebody in media that basically just kind of called out Georgia and was almost just speaking curses toward the situation. And it's kind of like, you know, wait 2 weeks and see what happens kind of mentality. And also in implying that the citizenry was now going to be these virus spreaders. You know, and I find it to be very sad because, you know, we want to conquer this virus? Don't we want to have victory over this virus as a people, as a nation, as a human population? We want to declare victory over COVID-19. And, you know, when states are taking the practice to open themselves back up because they don't want to be ruled by fear. That's the biggest thing is, you know, the enemy, he's such a liar, and that's the biggest weapon that he has is to try to bring fear to people in any situation. There's definitely been a lot of that going around, whether it comes to opening back up or social distancing or what your take is on masks. But I mean, as far as just wrapping this up on the Georgia scenario, you know, I just thought it was really sad, you know, that there was a fellow citizen wanting to just speak harm towards the people of Georgia, like almost wanting them to just have a spike in infection and accusing the citizenry that should they travel, that all of a sudden they'd be guilty of spreading the virus. You know, there's that whole stereotype of like, you know, you want to wish people, you want to get granny dead. I just think it's very sad. I feel like we should do a better job of wanting to encourage these other areas. If you live in a hot zone like New York City, I can understand it's pretty brutal out there. I've got a friend that lives up in that area, and so my heart goes out to him, and I pray for the people in New York. But you know, there's other parts of the country where it's pretty minimalist as far as infections are concerned, with comparison to just, you know, other forms of viral infections and how they affect health in the respective communities. And I feel like it would be just better to encourage and be a voice of encouragement towards our fellow citizens. We should want good things to happen for Georgia. We want Georgia to be successful. Use them as, you know, use them as an opportunity to gauge what's happening in that state, and Florida as well, for that matter. Texas, here in Texas, our governor was one that chose to loosen restrictions sooner than later. And we would come together as a country and as citizens, and definitely as Christians, if, regardless of where you stand politically, this doesn't have anything to do with politics. This has to do with people's health. And let's just speak encouragement and say, hey, you guys can do it. We're rooting for you. Like, why can't we see more of that in the media and on social media? Want people to overcome it. Want cities and states to overcome this. Want us to have a restoration back to normalcy. Why is that such a bad thing? I'm just very sad by the fact that we just are struggling to even come together during this season of COVID. It's really sad. And I just pray that, the God is in control, and He knows the end from the beginning, and this is all going to turn out to be okay. But, as things are right now, there's still a lot of us versus them mentality, and I just think it's very sad. And while I can get caught up in that, I'm a person, I can get caught up emotionally like everybody else. This goes back to kind of this surrender theme, and again, I just kind of have to take a step back and say, you know what, like, I'm not big enough to speak wisdom to this situation. I probably shouldn't say anything, or sometimes I just say, hey God, I surrender it to you. Please give me your wisdom so that I can speak truth in love, because ultimately that's what we should do. Well, that's all for this vlog. If you guys like this message, or you like other parts of my channel, I ask you to please subscribe. That's all for this vlog. God bless you.